It's the most wonderful time of the year. Unless the year is 2099, in which case, the world is a hellscape, full of marauders trying to harm you, and worse yet, Santa Claus himself, but he's gone mad and become bloodthirsty.
What's that? You want to be scared? Come with me. You will experience tales of horror, ghosts, and death. It is not recommended for the weak at heart. Listen in the dark. It's more fun that way. This is Weekly Spooky.
Hello, my spookies. It's Friday, and it's the holiday season, so of course, I'm back here for you with another Spooky for your Weekly. I'm your host and narrator, Enrique Couto, and we have quite a story for you tonight as we head into the future, the year 2099 to be exact, to find out just what the holidays are like after the Hellweaver has committed an apocalypse to Strickfield and beyond. But before we get to that story, why not consider giving yourself a little Christmas present by heading over to weeklyspooky.com and signing up for our Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you get access to 2 exclusive stories every month. This week, you'll be treated to part 3 of a 12-part series called The Weekend. It takes place in the Strickfield universe, which you've grown accustomed to through years of enjoying Weekly Spooky. This one is about a group of college kids from North Ridgeway who are on their way to the abandoned Camp Rolling Acres just outside Strickfield for a weekend of fun, intentionally leaving their smartphones behind. But little do the group realize they're being targeted by someone who may have a history with more than one of them. Will every member of the group make it out alive? Well, you'll have to subscribe to Patreon to find out. Just go to weeklyspooky.com, click on Patreon, and subscribe for as little as $1 a month, and you'll get to listen to the exclusive series, The Weekend by Rob Fields. But that all being said, we now have Rob Fields' latest masterpiece right here for you. And I also want to mention we have a very special show tomorrow where we're going to head to the Valley with our good buddy Charles Campbell's story, Santa's Little Helper. And I'll tell you right now, he's up to no good. But for tonight's story, that's about to start right now. So get comfortable, have yourself a candy cane, because the story starts right after these quick messages. Christmas at Pendleton Station by Rob Fields. I have had much time to ponder things since my birth on October 31st, 2099. First, I would awaken in a crypt and leave it to find my way to what was once the village of Strickfield. I would only get to learn very little there since I was attacked and captured by a cowardly despot named Sarathos, who would prove to be my first challenge. After defeating him and freeing several organic women whom he captured for an offering to Hellweaver, I received new mission files. Currently, I'm en route to the Pendleton Way station. Bear in mind that this destination is not part of the village of Pendleton itself. There is a vital component that I must acquire for when I reach my destination in Shore City upon completion of my other mission objectives. I should have arrived at Pendleton Way station many days ago. Shortly after I began my journey, I was forced to engage a pack of werewolves in battle. After defeating them, I continued on with my journey. Nearly a week later, I determined that the sun would rise again and needed to seek shelter. I found an abandoned dwelling and waited the seemingly endless day out. I would have to be with patience since I recalled in a former life that sunlight was deadly to me. The day began on the second week of November and lasted nearly a month. Fortunately, I do not require sustenance the way organic beings do. However, I would require plant-based nutrition in order to maintain my skin base. Descending the basement, I discovered many bottles of vintage wine. Scanning the bottles, I determined the wine to be quite suitable and gradually consumed it. When Earth had finally moved to where the sun would finally set, I was able to finally leave the dwelling and continue on my journey. I walked many desolate roads and through dense forests until I would reach the railroad tracks that I required. I had not walked a mile upon the tracks when a snowstorm began. The winds would remind me of my birth in that crypt on Halloween night. According to my internal clock, the day is December 21st, 2099. Unfortunately, these random weather patterns and long days and nights happened as a result of the Hellweaver Holocaust of October 31st, 2030. Hellweaver was victorious against the Battle Guard who opposed her and conquered the multiverse using the reality sphere. She only proved victorious because one of the Battle Guard turned against her allies and joined Hellweaver. With the epicenter of the Hellweaver Holocaust being upon this world, the goddess herself unleashed the power of the reality sphere. It was this event that forever altered Earth's axis. Thanks to my advanced software, I am able to determine how long the days, nights, and weather patterns will last. The night shall last until the first hours of December 25th, 2099. That shall be sufficient time for me to reach the Pendleton Way station. This is the first time that I have experienced winter weather since my birth. I can feel the cold in the wind and the snow. No organic being of this world could endure these conditions without suitable clothing. Organics would look upon me and determine that I am not adequately dressed for these conditions myself. However, I am a machine. My skin base retains its softness and composition in spite of the negative temperatures. Even my long metallic blonde hair remains dry and shiny. My clothing is quite wet, however. Nevertheless, I continue my journey and enjoy this change in the weather. Before, the weather was rainy. With the onset of the winter, the rain has become snow. Just as I do not require sustenance, I do not require rest. My power core provides me with limitless energy. Again, I find myself wondering why the life I feel was placed into this metallic body. I have had many days to ponder the meaning of my very existence when I was in that dwelling awaiting for the sun to descend. I was given the memories, appearance, and powers of a vampire Trelander hybrid named Cecilia Tabon. However, the memories are currently incomplete. By my calculations, I have 87% of her total memories. The remaining memories were likely lost when her body was left to decompose in that crypt for 212 years. Upon analyzing the memories used to give me data to feed my limitless intelligence capacity, I am unable to quickly reconstruct the necessary algorithms to fill the gaps. When it comes to the vampire half of Cecilia Tabon, I do not possess many of the powers that she once had, such as the ability to transmorph. I believe this is because of the composition of my indestructible metallic form that my skin base conceals. I regard the wintry sky and see only the barrier that is the clouds which produce the great winds and the seemingly endless snow across the lands. Why am I alive? I ask. I know that my mission is in my databanks, but yet I do not understand why I was born as a single machine who must live among a multitude of organics. Only the harsh winds respond, though they do not give me the answers that I seek. All I have is my mission. I must accomplish several side objectives before reaching Shore City and fulfilling the final objective there. My ultimate objective will be to engage in battle with Hellweaver and use all the power at my disposal to prevent her from creating this multi-universal hell, even at the cost of my own brief existence. I maintain my present course. When the snow becomes too high for me to be able to continue walking, I must make calculated jumps. This weather shall not prevent me from reaching my first objective. The days and hours mean nothing to me. It is into December 25th, 2,099 when I finally reach the outskirts of the Pendleton Way station. Scanning it, it has the appearance of a fortress. A high wall protects the dwellings and the few inhabitants within. The main gate is just ahead. As I am ready to jump over the wall, the main gate unlocks and begins to open. It does not open all the way, however. 2 organic males come through the opening and approach me. Both are armed with weapons. "You need to go away from here at once," the left one says. "If you stay, you'll only endanger yourself and all of us," the right one adds. I scan both of them to determine that they are no match for me. My empathic abilities tell me they are with great fear. "How would there be an endangerment to either myself or you?" I inquire. Now the 2 of them regard me with confusion. "Don't you know what Christmas Day brings?" the left man asks. "If I knew, I would not need to inquire," I return. The men regard one another for a moment. Then the left man gently says, "We will bring you inside so you may warm yourself, but we fear none of us shall be safe once he comes." "Once who comes?" I inquire. "Please tell me." "Once we're inside," the right man insists. "Very well, lead the way. I shall follow you." The men turn back to the way station entrance and go inside. I follow close behind. Seeing the inside, it looks very much like a colony with basic places for commerce, lodging, a restaurant, a general store, and a communications office. My objective for the Pendleton Way Station highlights. I am required to obtain a vital component here, and cannot continue my mission without it. Once the main gate is sealed again, I follow the men until I am brought to their leader's building at the center of this colony. We ascend the stairway and enter through the 2 doors in front. The men take me to their leader himself. The organic man looks up from his desk and sees me. "What is the meaning of this?" The men who brought me before him explain that they found me outside of their gates. The leader quickly stands to his feet. "And you brought her inside?" He moves out from behind his desk. "It's bad enough we had to send the women and children into hiding. Now you've brought a single female before me?" Now the leader turns and regards me. "Don't you have suitable clothing, woman?" "Do not worry about me," I tell him. "I wish to know with whom you fear." He sneers now. "Truly, woman, you are foolish if you do not know." "I have not been in existence for very long," I say. "Would there be any harm in telling me?" He looks me over. "You are a most unusual woman if you've been out in that blizzard and are not affected by it, especially when your clothing is both inadequate and wet." "I am not so easily overcome," I assure him. He makes the mistake of glancing to his 2 men. Suddenly they come at me. Though they are well trained to fight, they are not prepared for one such as I. The men fall before me easily. I do not harm them in any way, since I understand this was merely an exercise to test me. The leader nods. "A most unusual woman indeed." He regards his men. "Leave us, only stand outside the doors." The men nod and obey him. Now he regards me again. "Tell me you've at least heard of Santa Claus." I nod once. I have memories from long ago. Mostly they are photographs, songs, and tales. He has never been in my presence. "He is quite real," the leader tells me. "May I have your name?" "I am Cecilia Tabon. And yours?" "I'm General Reinbold Larst," he returns. "I've only been in this highest office for a year tonight. I assumed this rank and office when our last general was struck down by Santa Claus last Christmas." I point to a short stack of blank white paper. "May I?" "You may." I pick up a colored pen and astonish Larst with how quickly I can draw. When I finish, I present him with a rendering of Santa Claus, as the woman who was Grams in a former life had shown me. "This man struck your general down?" He growls in frustration. "Our people may only wish Santa Claus was the jolly old soul of the olden days given your picture." I'd say given your apparent age, you do not know what has become of Santa Claus. Again, will you please tell me that I may understand? I inquire. Larst goes behind his desk and sits. Then he gestures for me to be seated. I obey and await his story. He tells me that Santa Claus was indeed the warm and jolly persona of Christmas. Listening to him and recalling the memories I have of Grams, the stories have few discrepancies. Are you familiar with the Hellweaver Holocaust? He asks. You must at least know that. I do. Does your story begin on October 31st, 2030? I return. Indeed it does. A heavy, sad sigh. When Hellweaver laid waste to our world and altered it for the worst, there were many on this world who couldn't handle the reality of how things would be. It was believed that Santa Claus was one of them. Even though he lived up at the North Pole, the blast wave from the reality sphere even reached his part of Earth. No reason it wouldn't, since she conquered the entire multiverse. He leans forward. Exactly what creatures have you seen for yourself? I tell him that I have regarded many, ranging from werewolves to vampires and zombified organics. Well, you shall soon see Santa Claus for yourself this very night, he states. Every Christmas Eve, he takes to the skies with his monstrous reindeer and mercilessly attacks and kills those unfortunate enough to be seen by him and his reindeer. He's even taken some of the people back to the North Pole to use as his slaves. He mainly attacks and pillages cities, villages, and way stations, such as ours. He lifts my rendering of Santa Claus. This is what we wish he could be again. He puts the rendering down and reaches to a control panel. View the monitor behind me, Tabon. I regard what appears to be footage captured by one or more cameras or scanners. That is Santa Claus now, he tells me. The man wears a red and white suit with a stocking cap, just the same as in my drawing. However, his skin is quite black and his eyes glow hot. If anything, he appears to be greatly zombified. I will not know for certain until I can scan him. He no longer leaves presents for good little boys and girls, Larst says. He doesn't even leave coal for the bad ones. No. I told you what he does. He turns the monitor off. Now the question is, what do you do? I'm not a fool, Tabon. You were somehow able to survive out in that harshest of blizzards, yet you have come all the way out here to Pendleton Way Station. You are not whom you appear to be, or perhaps you're here because you want something. Sensing the man is not malevolent, I take another piece of paper and a pen. I draw what I am here to obtain and present that rendering to him. He regards it for a long moment before he responds to me again. He is with great distrust now. How do you even know about the psionic warp displacer? He asks. Our scientists worked on that in secret for the last several years. Now that we've perfected it, you want to take it from us? I would rather not just take it from you. I would offer you something in trade for it, perhaps. Larst stands and comes around his desk to stand before me. How do you know about our device, Tabon? We know you were nowhere around here when it was first conceived. You would be correct, I agree. Then I stand to face him. What is the psionic warp displacer worth to you? Larst points to his doors. Leave here, immediately. Suddenly, his two men stationed outside the doors enter his office. Sir, the man on the left gasps. We're hearing the bells in the distance. Santa Claus is coming.
More scares to come. Weekly Spooky will be right back.
Are you and your men ready for battle? Larst demands. What few we are, sir. The man on the right answers. We fear we shall not survive this conflict. I increase my audio sensors and hear the very jingling bells that the two men have heard themselves. I scan through the walls and see a vessel in the unforgiving skies. It appears to be a large sleigh, with what appears to be 9 zombified reindeer pulling it. The single reindeer in the very front has a glowing red nose. I point. This Santa Claus comes from that direction. Larst growls at me. How would you know? I regard him now. How will you hope to defeat this being if he is as powerful as you and your men claim? Larst points at me. I am through talking to you, woman. Leave here now. I raise my finger. I offered you a trade. I shall return outside and engage your Santa Claus in battle. I shall defeat him in exchange for the psionic warp displacer. Larst and his men laugh now. Of course, they do not know that I am a powerful machine. I wait for them to finish. Santa Claus descends, I warn. He shall be within your boundaries very shortly. General Larst, do we have a bargain? He laughs again. If you can do what you claim, then it shall be agreed. Very well. I turn and exit Larst's office. I return to the entrance doors and step outside. The being known as Santa Claus is maneuvering his reindeer over Pendleton Way Station. Then I hear Santa's laughter. I have memories from a former life of Gramps laughing with joy and warmth as Santa would. The laughter I hear now is a menacing, evil one. The laughter is loud enough to be heard even through the harsh winds and snow. You are a fool, Tabon! General Larsk calls out from behind me. I glance over my shoulder. Call your men back, General. They need not risk their lives tonight. I alone shall battle Santa Claus and defeat him, as per our bargain. He shall never be a threat to you again. The general sees that I am serious and issues the order for his men to retreat. Again, Tabon, you are foolish, Larsk chastises me. Die well. Then he slams the doors behind me and secures them. I stand and watch Santa Claus as he flies around. In time, his sleigh and zombified reindeer are hovering near the general's building. I scan him and determine that he is perhaps a demon. He is not undead as his reindeer. He looks very much as General Larsk has shown me in his office, regarding how menacing his glowing eyes are. Santa Claus regards me from above and laughs. Again, his menacing, scornful laughter echoes throughout the blizzard. Time to utilize some of my hardware. I raise my voice in response to his laughter, to where he can hear me. I offer you one chance, demon. Turn away and leave these people in peace. If you do not leave, and you choose to engage in battle with me, you shall fall in defeat. This is my promise to you. Santa Claus and I regard each other for a moment. A long moment. Then he breaks the silence by laughing scornfully at me again. Suddenly, my senses are alerting me to danger. I turn and see many little figures coming over the wall. They laugh and sneer as they scurry towards me. This already reminds me of my first battle against Sarathos. He used his underlings to engage me because he believed me to be too insignificant for him to engage himself. If this demonic entity wishes to see what I'm capable of. Scanning these smaller life forms, they are zombified as the reindeer pulling Santa's sleigh. I'm ready to engage these. I believe Grams referred to these creatures as elves. When the first elf leaps at me, I send it away with a swift blow. With my mechanical accuracy and speed, I send these undead abominations away from me. As many of them as there are, not a single one lays so much as a finger upon me. And no sooner do I dispatch the last one, I feel the demon himself dropping from his sleigh with the intention of landing upon me. When I step aside, Santa Claus lashes out and shoves me upon my back. The demon immediately picks me up and hurls me over the wall. I land hard against a large tree and fall onto my side. I quickly rise again and move to the wall. I leap right over it and see Santa Claus still standing there. I believe he was wondering if I would truly return. I land on my feet and face him. You shall require much more than that if you hope to overcome me, demon. Santa Claus sneers and launches himself right at me. I await him and catch him this time. As he did to me, I throw him over the wall. I do not await his return, however. I leap over the wall again myself in pursuit of him. I land outside the Pendleton Way station as Santa Claus rises to his feet again. He roars and comes at me. I move and go to him. The two of us engage in a most personal conflict. We throw blow after blow at one another. Truly, Santa Claus is a more formidable foe when compared to Sarathos. Suddenly, Santa Claus grabs me, lifts me off my feet, and drives me into the ground. He lowers himself and throws more deadly blows directly into my face. I throttle his throat and remove him from me as I ascend to my feet. It becomes my turn to throw him into the trees. When Santa Claus hits them, he falls forward. He rises to his feet immediately. He roars, and his eyes glow brighter. I know not what you are, but I shall claim you this night. You shall become the centerpiece of my trophy room, or perhaps I shall make a rug out of your hide. Such empty promises, I mutter. Santa Claus roars and comes at me again. I leap at him in return. We both connect with our blows and find ourselves upon our backs. We both rise and engage one another again. What has become of you? I ask the demon. According to old fables, you used to bring joy to all the good people of this world. Things change, girl. The world changed. The day Hellweaver changed everything. On Halloween night of 2030, when the world became the very essence of hell itself, my wife, my elves, and even my reindeer were slain that night. However, they would not stay dead. You have seen some of my elves and all of my reindeer as they are now. And you? Seeing how the world became and how worse it continues to become, there was only so much I could do. When the blast wave hit, it drove me mad. At the same time, I became this powerful form before you, and now... Who really gives a fuck? He laughs his menacing laughter again. Christmas is my holiday, and on this one night out of the year, I go out and collect that is due to me. But what should concern you now is your doom. My senses alert me to attacks coming from different directions. Santa Claus backs away to watch me engage in battle with all 9 of his reindeer. They all make their undead battle cries as they come at me. These creatures are nearly double the size of normal deer from the memories I possess. Either reindeer are normally this size, or they were affected and altered by the Hellweaver Holocaust, just as Santa Claus himself was. When they come at me, I strike and attack with the same mechanical speed and reflexes as when I earlier repelled the elves. The reindeer are not alone as more of the elves come at me. How many of these small creatures does Santa Claus have? I've had time to experiment and see what I am capable of doing with my new body. I may not know all of my capabilities, but I shall in good time. When I first came to know life, the life force that I was given needed to become fully integrated with my new body. To my understanding, the futuristic alien technology used to create me had to be crafted, configured, and fully optimized to be able to house my spark that is my life. Comparing my own life force to the one that was once Cecilia Tabon, I strive to be all that she never was. I can feel how active my secondary programming is within me. It is this guiding force when working in unison with my emotions that compels me to want to do good. The memories I have that are of the original Cecilia Tabon are not heroic. The Tabon family who took her in as a newborn were heroic. But Cecilia would never strive to become as they were. My software is working to bridge the gaps in the memories with greatly complicated algorithms. This will take a great deal of time and patience for the memories to be fully reconstructed. But knowing that the original Cecilia Tabon was not heroic, and feeling my secondary programming working, I know that I must use what I have been given and become heroic. My ultimate objective is that I must stop Hellweaver, even if it means the end of my brief existence. That means I must not fail against Santa Claus. Again, I am keeping my enemies away from me. Seeing Santa Claus approaching the main gate to the Pendleton way station, I know that he means to breach it and accomplish his insane objective. His reindeer and elves are a distraction for me. This must end now. When I have an opening, I lean into the air and towards Santa Claus. You shall not be successful in your madness, demon. As I reach Santa Claus, he turns and suddenly plucks me right out of the air. Then he sneers and throws me out into the open where his elves and reindeer suddenly converge and pounce on me. He laughs his horrible, evil laughter again and turns his attention back to the gates. The reindeer and elves are making their noises as they try to keep me down and attack. The elves have weapons from blades to picks. The reindeer are stomping on me or trying to bite me. My skin base does not easily yield under the pressure of their teeth. These creatures are doing anything and everything to keep me here while their master uses mighty blows to break open the main gates. He could easily leap over, but he wants to break in, to show the organics inside that the gates are futile. It takes him 3 blows to both force open the gates and make both halves fall. There shall be no mortals remaining before this night is over. This shall be your last Christmas. Next year, I shall ravage a new destination. In time, I shall decimate all of you remaining mortals. You were foolish to send a weak female to fight your battles for you. Most foolish indeed, and cowardly. Your very existence makes you naughty in my eyes. But I am not finished. It shall take far more than these undead abominations to overcome me. The elves are with distress now as I raise myself to stand. You shall never defeat one such as I declare. Even with your vast numbers, you shall never overcome a machine. I stand once more and knock them away from me, both the elves and the reindeer alike. Killing them will mean nothing since they do not have life within their bodies. Upon repelling enough of them, I turn my attention back to Santa Claus. He is the one I must ultimately defeat. I leap forward and reach him again as he has ripped the main doors away from General Larsk's station. Will you ever cease your struggle, you worthless mortal female? He growls. Not until you're defeated, I return. Then I shall grant you your death as your final Christmas gift. You shall try. The two of us engage in battle once more. We trade many powerful blows, looking to end each other. Each time that Santa Claus repels me and returns his attention to entering the General Larsk's building, I leap back to him to continue our battle. At times, I am forced to repel elves or reindeer. It is then, when I feel something hit my back, that I was not expecting. I see many variables flashing upon my interface, especially when I am hit again. I regard the reindeer with the bright red nose. From the memories I have with Grams, I believe his name to be Rudolph. He fires his laser beam from his nose and hits my face. I sense injuries and damage to my skin base now. At the same time, I feel my healing factor working to repair the damage. Rudolph fires his laser nose at my face once again.
Don't go away. Weekly Spooky will be right back.
You are unlike anything I have ever seen, Santa Claus says with disbelief upon seeing half of my true face. Then the demon strikes me hard on the back of my head to send my face into the snow. Nonetheless, I shall claim you as my prize on this Christmas Day. Suddenly, I'm on my knees. Santa Claus roars and kicks me hard in the chin to make me fly away from him and slam into the wall. I make an indentation and fall forward. Santa Claus is upon me almost at once. He lifts me up, slams me against the wall, and unleashes many powerful blows into me. You are clearly not a mortal. I know not what you are, but know that you were foolish to think you could best Santa Claus. No matter how powerful he is, he still cannot damage or blemish my mechanical body. I can feel my skin base repairing itself as the gelatinous substance spreads itself on the exposed areas that Rudolph created. I can literally feel my skin base solidifying and becoming my flesh once more. Even my metallic hair is flawlessly regenerated. I technically do not require this exterior skin base and am capable of functioning just as a mechanical being, but my programming maintains my skin and keeps it as a part of me. My creators wished for me to have my exterior covering for specific reasons. Of this, I am certain. I am through letting Santa Claus dominate me in this conflict and know I must end it. When I sense Rudolph firing his red nose at me again, I turn and suddenly feel my own red beams emitting from my very optics and passing through my humanoid eyes. My twin beams conflict with the reindeer's one. I can feel the very power coursing through my body to supplement this power I now utilize. I turn and vampire warp from Santa Claus toward Rudolph. When I land in front of him, I take hold of his unique nose and render it useless. Being undead, the reindeer does not cry out in pain, but he does step away knowing that he can no longer engage in battle with me. And then, when I vampire warp back to Santa Claus again, I can see past him and regard the sun that shall rise again soon. At this point, I do not believe that I shall be able to defeat this monster before the sun fully rises. My life shall come to a very abrupt end once it does. I feel how strong my emotions and my secondary programming are becoming now. If I am to die shortly, then I shall do so knowing that I was successful in keeping Santa Claus from claiming the lives of these and other organics. Santa Claus engages me again. I understand his way of fighting now and am able to counter him. I strike one harsh blow right after another. He staggers backward but still manages to get in a few more attacks on me. Refusing to allow him any more leverage against me, I continue my onslaught and make him stagger. I must defeat Santa Claus before the sun fully rises and destroys me. The sun continues. My emotions continue to rise within me. The demon continues to stagger. Not possible! I continue to show Santa Claus that it is indeed possible. He falls to his knees for me to kick him under his chin and send him upward, make him do a backflip and then land hard on his face and chest. He puts his hands down and raises himself. I step in and keep pummeling him. I am seeing the first rays of the Christmas morning sun as they begin to bring lights to this wintry land. The snow has finally ceased, but the winds continue their vicious onslaught. Then I see what is becoming of the elves and the reindeer, at least the ones that still bear animation. The reindeer walk around fast and make a strange noise. The elves are trying to flee. Even Santa Claus is showing signs of slowing down. The sun is lighting the new morning more now. A strange vapor begins to emit from the reindeer and the elves. I look at Santa Claus and see the vapor rising from him as well. I could run for safety, but this demon's reign of terror must end here. Santa Claus makes one last futile effort to fight me. His blows are at their weakest now. They feel like those of an organic child. I understand immediately. These abominations cannot endure the sunlight and are nocturnal creatures. Now I am with surprise. I gaze upon my skin base and see that nothing is happening to me. I search my memories and recall that the original life form could not exist in the sunlight. She had tried putting her hand in a sunbeam once, only for it to burn her and nearly make her hand burst into flames. No such thing is happening to me now, however. I stand and watch as Santa Claus and his underlings burn in the sunlight. I move away and let them. My optics are primarily on the demon himself. Within my visual scope, I can see the underlings bursting into flames and turning into ash. Santa Claus now bursts into flames himself. He roars as his black flesh flies away from his body to reveal his large, organic skeleton, which is also charred. Perhaps that blast wave from October 31st, 2030 may have been the reason for this. Santa Claus falls flat now as his skeleton is now burning until nothing remains but ash. I look upon the skin base of my own hands and arms to see I'm still intact. Then I remember back in the village of Strickfield when those zombified organics came after me. I also encountered such creatures along the way to this way station. I activate my diagnostics program to see that I have vital signs. I have truly misunderstood the concept of my having life. No, I am not the undead creature that the life form before me was. When it comes to the vampire aspect, I do possess limited powers. I believe that I was undead based upon the memories I have been supplemented with to give me data to feed my intelligence capacity. Cecilia Tabon, being undead, was a former life. In my new life, yes, that is indeed what I truly possess within this mechanical body. I have the very essence of true life, the same as these organic beings. Truly, this shall be a Christmas morning to be remembered. I cannot help myself and begin to cry. Wait, how am I capable of tears? I only have a skin base, yet I produce tears of happiness? It is fully morning now. I never need to fear this beautiful sunlight ever again. I feel I am unworthy of life and having a mechanical body. I reason it is my conflicting memories from the past and the new memories I make in the present. After I conclude my crying, I know that it is time for me to see General Larsk and to claim my prize. I walk into his building and soon find him in his office. His 2 men are with him and are armed. Larsk himself regards me. Santa Claus is no more, I tell him. The 3 men regard me for the longest time, then Larsk finally speaks. I cannot allow you to remove the psionic warp displacer from here, he tells me. We had an arrangement, I remind him. Larsk shakes his head. Don't care. We are not relinquishing anything to a woman. I do not recommend forcing me to take it from you, I say. His men raise their weapons. I emit the laser beams from my optics that I used a short time ago and melt their weapons. I also melt General Larsk's weapon after he draws it. The men are with fear and do not know how to react. General Larsk quickly points to a room off to the side. In there. You'll find the psionic warp displacer in a display case. My empathic powers tell me that he does not speak with truth. I utilize my vampire warping power and appear behind Larsk. I lift him off his feet. Remembering the design of the psionic warp displacer, I scan Larsk's office. My optics stop upon his monitor. I lower Larsk and shatter the screen. The component that I require is now before me. I turn to Larsk. Santa Claus sought to end you and your people of this way station. You and your men should be grateful that you will continue to live, even in knowing that he shall never return. Live your lives well while you still have them. Larsk does not listen. Why do you want the psionic warp displacer, woman? I require it for my mission to find and defeat Hellweaver, I answer. It is my mission to make sure this reality never happens and that as few lives are lost as possible. The men are not certain as to what to make of me, but they question me no longer. Larsk steps aside to allow me to take the psionic warp displacer. I scan it to determine that it is genuine. The side objective is now changed to complete. I realize that I cannot just keep this component out in the open. Then I understand and will a small portal to open before me. I place the warp displacer within the field and remove my hand. Shortly after, the portal closes. As I leave Larsk's office, he weakly calls out behind me. You will fail against Hellweaver, Tabon! He shakes his head slowly. I fail to understand how you could defeat Santa Claus. I glance over my shoulder. Beings such as Santa Claus cannot defeat the machine. The men are baffled as I turn and finally take my leave. I walk until I cross through what is left of the gates of Pendleton Way Station. It is time for me to venture to the second side objective, a place where many of the original life force's memories were forged. I must venture to the Tabon homeland known as Ravenhurst. There, I must acquire one of the most powerful and ancient artifacts in the vast Tabon arsenal of weapons to use in my battle against Hellweaver. In the meantime, do have yourself a very Merry Christmas. I tell ya, the future is looking mighty grim in the year 2099, but if the last Tabon has anything to say about it, she's going to turn everything around and bring down the Hellweaver, but the only way to know what happens next is to be subscribed to Weekly Spooky, because you never know when we're going to return to the year 2099 in Strickfield and find out more about her plight and her plans to take down the Hellweaver. I hope you've all been enjoying the bonus content I've been putting up this month. I know a lot of podcasts will ease up and take a break in December, but not us. We publish even more for your listening pleasure. In fact, yesterday I was joined by Cameron Chaney to talk about must-read books for the holiday horror season. And tomorrow, we'll have a story from Charles Campbell called Santa's Little Helper, which I know you're going to enjoy very much. And I want to mention, next week, we'll be giving away a full Babysitter Massacre audiobook for your listening enjoyment. So be subscribed if you're not already. I promise you, I'll make it worth your while. And if you love what we're doing, head over to weeklyspooky.com and click on Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you get bonus shows every month and my undead gratitude. We're at 91 backers. Can we make it to 100 this year? It would mean so much to me to see 100 backers. And speaking of backers, I want to say an extra special thank you to our Patreon podcast boosters, folks who pay a little bit more to hear their names on the show, and they are Johnny Nix, John Callan, Bobbletopia.com, Megan Hua, Julia Kirsch, Brent McCullough, Steve King, Karen Wiemet, Jack Kerr, and Craig Cohen. Well, my friends, it's time for me to get back to work. We have so many more spookies to bring you. So please, stay safe, enjoy your holiday season, and we'll be right back here tomorrow with you. But now, for myself, for my producer Dan Wilder, my executive producer Rob Fields, and our composer Ray Mattis, I will talk at you next time. So make sure you put out some sleigh bells and catch Santa before he catches you.
Thank you for listening. Make sure to find your way back next week. But for now, you are safe. Trust me.